In this video here, what we're going to do is we're going to explore how to solve some word problems using a couple of different techniques with percentages. We'll do two problems, and the first one we'll use two different techniques involving proportions, and then the second one we'll use two different techniques involving equations. And so the question that we have to answer here is 10 years ago, a town had a population of 4,140 people. Today, the population is 23% bigger. What is the new population? And so, since we're going to use proportions here, what we'll do is we'll start with comparing words. And since this is really about an increase in population, what we're going to do is I'm going to compare the increase in population to the original population. And once again, I have number values and I have percent values. And let's fill in the things I know. I always know, once again, that the original percent is 100%. And this time I'm told that there's a 23% increase. So that's going to be this number here. The original population was 4,140. And what I'm trying to find is how many people did the population increase by. So now I have a proportion that I can solve. And so I will use cross products because I don't see any other patterns to solve this. So I have 100n is equal to 4,140 times 23. And I'll divide both sides by 100. So I'm actually solving it without doing the calculations. Now I'll get my calculator out and I'll just punch all this in at one time. 4,140 times 23 divided by 100 equals 952.2. And in this case here, we can't have 0.2 of a person, so I'm going to round this to 952. So this is telling us that the population increased, because that's what we were trying to find, the population increased by 952 people. But we still haven't actually answered the question yet, because the question is asking us to find the new population. So to do that, we need to add 952 to the original population of 4,140. So now that I have my calculator, let's do that. We'll clear that out. 4,140 plus 952 equals 5,092. So the new population is 5,092 people. Now there's a slightly different way of doing this. So just to kind of recap here, we kind of did this in two steps, right? The first thing we did is we found the amount of the increase, and then the second thing we did is we found the new population by adding those the original population to the new population. So we're going to do this a slightly different way, and in this case what we're going to do is, instead of finding the increase, we're actually just going to find the new total compared to the original. Now this is a little tiny bit different because instead of adding populations at the end, what we're actually going to do is we're going to add percentages. And so the way to think about it is like this. Let's fill in what we know. We know the original population is 4,140. We know we're being asked to find the new population. And so what we need to do, as always, we know that the original percentage is 100. Now the question really is, what's the new percentage? And what this comes down to is understanding that the new percentage is 23% bigger, so it's really going to be 100 plus 23. And the reason why it's plus 23 is it's getting 23% bigger. So we're going to add 23% to the original 100%. And now let's use cross products to do this. I have 100n equals 4,140 times 100 plus 23, which is 123. And so I'll divide by 100 and divide by 100. And so we'll get our calculator out and we'll test to see if this works. So I have 4,140 times 123 divided by 100 is 5,092.2, but once again, because we don't have 0.2 people, it will be 5,092. And we can see by comparing that to the original, and we can see by comparing that to the previous method that that is in fact the same answer. So just a different technique here. In this case, again, just to kind of recap, the first thing we're really doing is finding out what the new total is, and then we'll go through and do the rest of our proportion work. Now the second question is a tiny bit trickier because it actually has more than one step. It says that an espresso coffee machine costs $369. If it's on sale for 20% off and then a 7% tax is added, what's the final price? So before we actually dive into this one, let's actually just kind of set this up. We have a cost, which is really a retail price, and then we're going to take away some sort of discount, and then we're going to add a tax. And once again, you could do this using a proportion or an equation, but I'm going to actually use an equation to do this. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to revisit that that setup that we had in class, where we had the amount of something is equal to the original times the percent of something. And in this particular case, the first thing I need to do is I need to take the retail price and subtract a discount. And so I'm going to actually be working with discount here to start. So discount and discount. So I'm going to find the amount of the discount first. So to do that, let's plug in some different numbers here. Here's what I know. I know that the amount of the discount is what I'm trying to find. I do know the original price is $369 and the percent of discount is 0.2. So 20% converted to a decimal. So I'm going to quickly work that out. N is equal to 369 times 0.2 equals 73.8. So that's how much money I've saved. So really what I need to do now is find a sale price. And the sale price, I'll just do that on the side here. The sale price is going to equal the original price, 369, minus that discount of 73.8. So once again, I'll get my calculator out. And 369 minus 73.8 equals $295.20. I'm just going to write that down. $295.20. So really what I've done here is I found the sale price of my coffee machine. Now I need to add a tax to this. And so to do that, I'm going to find the amount of tax, and that's going to equal the new original price, which is really in this case the sale price times the percent of tax. And the reason why this original price is now different is because you don't pay tax on the ticket price, you pay tax on whatever it is you actually paid. And so in this case I paid a sale price, so that's the original amount that the tax gets added onto. So let's actually work this out right now. The amount of tax I do not know. The original is 295.20, and my percent of tax is 7%, as a decimal 0.07. So I'll get my calculator out again. I see my answer is still there, so I'll just multiply that by 0.07 equals $20.66, right? I don't pay 4/10 of a cent. So that's my tax. So now what I need to think about is, well, what does tax do to the final price? And any of us who have paid tax, you know that it increases the final price of something. So my final price is going to equal the sale price, $295.20, plus the sale price of $20.66. And that really equals $315.86. And so my final overall price is $315.86. The key thing to remember when doing these types of problems that involve discounts and taxes is you really need to find the discount and the tax separately. These are two different steps. A very common mistake that people make is they just add the two numbers together and they say, oh, well, a 20% discount and a 7% tax is the same as a 13% discount, and that's not true. The reason why it's not true comes back to the fact that our prices are different. Right? The discount applies to the retail price, to the original price, and the tax is applied to the sale price. So because those two prices are different, you can't just add the taxes together.